The ocean is huge. It's probably bigger than you think. To cover it, you'd actually need 36 USAs. And that's not even mentioning its depth. All that is to say, the ocean can conceal extra large creatures. One such behemoth is the oarfish, which is so long and so rare, it has become attached to myths and legends among seafarers. But truth and legend are often swirled together on the high seas in Life, Death, and Taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at lttaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Jesse Raspolich, Carol Raspolich, Richard Caspar, Lottie and Aubrey, Gray Hughes, and Wednesday Rabbit. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. You guys are great.
And today we're talking about a fish as long as the day is long. But more on that later.
This fish is 24 hours long. Yeah, we're talking about the giant oarfish. The big one that you strap Buzz Lightyear to.
Yeah.
The big one.
It came! It finally came!
I think about that line a lot whenever something comes via Amazon. Yeah, the giant oarfish has been called the king of herrings, which I'm sure we'll learn more about later. But we're going to call it here the deep sea danger noodle and Cardinal Ribbons. Cardinal Gibbons is a famous bishop or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got like that.
Florida school named after him.
Yeah, there's a school named after him. And a cardinal is a bird that is red. And there's red on this fish. So this is just, I dare say it. This is the perfect nickname. It is the most best. But let's taxonomize this fish.
Okey-dokey.
Before we go any further, it's in a kingdom you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Actinopterygii. It's a bony fish. It's got bones, not cartilage. Or it's got some cartilage, but it's mostly bones. The order is Lampriformes. You don't want to hide this one under a bushel basket. The family is Regalicidae. The genus is Regalicus, and the species is Glesney. Regalicus, Glesney is the binomial nomenclature. And since we are in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature. The part of the show. This is definitely becoming my favorite part of the show because it is tapping into my love of languages and my essentially useless linguistics degree at this point. So it's making me feel like I actually did something of import for 4 years in college. Even though I just, look it up on Google. So what does Regalicus glesney mean in English? And I will give you a hint. Glesney is a Norwegian word.
Wow.
So, does it mean A, the king's farm, B, or like crown, C, royal cloud, or D, king of herrings?
King of herrings, final answer.
Gotcha. That is incorrect. It is the king's farm. Glesny.
They really loved farms.
Kings?
The Vikings.
That's all they had.
They didn't even have them. That's why they went other places.
They brought other people's stuff to their farm. Yes, Glesny is a farm. Specifically a farm that was close to the place where they first discovered it. And Regalicus is belonging to a king.
No kidding. Regalia.
Regalicus. But yeah, that's it. You want to hear about what it looks like?
This is what it looked like. Yes, I do.
The giant oarfish shops at the Big and Tall store. It's long. It's a long boy. Long eel-like ribbon body. Cardinal ribbons. There's another link to that one. It has blue silver scales, and it's lined with a bright red dorsal fin that spans the entire length of its body from its tip of its head all the way down to its tail. It has these teeny tiny T-Rex pectoral fins that are also red and look vestigial. They're basically useless. And it has these very long antenna-like pelvic fins right underneath the head that widen at the tip that make them look like oars. Hence, it's an oarfish. But those are pelvic fins for a reason, because that's where the pelvis is. So if you look at a picture of this guy, you might think like, oh, that's the whole body. No, the body of this fish is like the top 10th. The rest of it is just tail. So it's like all head and body in one thing, like SpongeBob, and then just tail for the rest of the animal. It has this squared off head, or like a beveled square head, and a large like pompadour / mohawk happening, sprouting from its now 5 head. It looks like a very intelligent animal, at least until you look into its eyes. Black, vacant, gaping fish eyes. And it has
eyes.
Like a doll's eyes. And it has this large bass-like mouth with a permanent pout frown. So yeah, very, very long, like flat eel fish, with a square head and just like a red mohawk going all the way down, and then just 2 little antennas sticking out the bottom that make it look like it's paddling with little tiny miniature oars. But like I said, very long boy. One of the longest boys, I imagine. So how long is he?
It's a great question. Welcome to the Blood Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the entire family.
Even the dog.
Even the dog. But it's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in audio of yourself singing, and chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure of intro this week, but that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
Poor child. Poor sweet child.
Do you know what that is?
I wonder if they were able to like do that with their voices, or that was like
an effect.
An effect.
It's definitely an effect.
Oh, I bet you someone could do like a cool undulation with their voice like that. That was Flotsam and Jetsam, the moray eels from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, they're long guys. I had to find a long fish.
Yeah, not a lot of oarfish for some reason have not found their way into pop culture. Kids pop culture specifically, because that's where the talking animals come from.
Usually. Unless you're talking about Wilfred or something.
Wilfred?
Let's get into their length. They're around 8 meters or 26 feet. But there are unconfirmed reports of 11 meters, 36 feet, and even 17 meters, which is 56 feet. So that 56 feet, that's quite large.
Yeesh.
But we're going to go with 26 feet,
okay.
Since that's confirmed. The giant oarfish is the same length as A, 1/3 Drogon from Game of Thrones. B.
Wait, what?
4.
What is Drogon? Is that one of the
dragon.
dragons?
Yeah.
I thought Drogon was the. No, it's Drogo. Drogo. That's the.
Khal Drogo.
Yeah, that guy.
B. 4.4 Dratinis. Or C. 10.2 Mushus. Dratini the Pokemon and Mushu from Mulan.
The Mushu one seems plausible. Him being like 2.5 feet long. That sounds right along those lines. But, do we have exact dimensions for Mushu? He is... there's no lore backing that up. However, there is lore backing up the length of a Dratini.
Yeah.
All of the Pokemon have their weight and height and length categorized. So you're more likely to get that number. And what was the other one?
I did look up
the Game of Thrones
length
guy.
of all three of these, and there was a number, but I don't know if those are estimates based on Mushu stands next to Mulan. Mulan is a human being. She's probably around this height. So Mushu's, I don't know if there's any official lore for the height of Mushu, but there was a number that I found. And I'm sure Drogon, whenever there's a big dragon, it's in a fantasy book, he's the length of 4 frigates or something like that.
Those 4 frigate dragons, you can't trust them. Very dishonest. I'm gonna go with Mushu. 2.5 feet long seems perfect for that. For Mushu, and that would put him just over 10 times, or a tenth of the length of an oarfish. So Mushu.
Final answer.
Yes.
The correct answer is Dratini. Drogon is 197 feet. Dratini is 5 feet 11 inches. And Mushu.
So am I.
Is about 3.
I have Dratini and I are kindred spirits.
So wait, you were saying Mushu, you thought he was 2.5?
Yeah.
How'd the math work out then?
Then that would put him a little bit.
The correct answer was 5'11".
No, Dratini's 5'11".
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that Mushu was 2.5 feet. You said he was 10.2 or something.
Oh, right.
Times.
Gotcha. Yeah. Dratini is 5'11". That's the correct answer.
Wait, how long is Mushu?
3 feet.
So close.
But who's to say you could be right about the actual height of Mushu?
Literally no one is right about the exact height of Mushu.
Let's talk about weight. They're 270 kilograms or 600 pounds. Fish are always deceptively heavy.
Same.
Because they can be. They don't have to be. They don't have to worry about like walking around with more gravity, with the full weight of gravity.
They have the same amount of gravity, but buoyancy kind of helps with that.
Buoyancy helps them out, yeah. The giant oarfish is the same weight as a 1/24,000th a Constellation class frigate. I was staring at the word frigate. That's why I said it earlier. Or B, 42 6-foot ash oars, as in like oars carved out of ash pole, like an ash wood. The wood, ash. The tree, an ash tree.
Not Ash Ketchum, who catches a Dratini.
Yeah. Or C, 1 Kawasaki Ultra 310LX jet ski.
What was the first one?
1/24,000th a Constellation
class.
Class
Of a Constellation class frigate. That would make the Constellation class frigate 14.4 million pounds. And I don't think that's enough. Although I don't know what era that is from. I'm going to go with a jet ski. Final answer.
The correct answer might be wrong. You're making me doubt myself again because I have it as the Constellation class frigate.
Oh, okay. Well, I know. I don't know if it's a frigate from the 15th century or
pounds. Oh, it might. Yes, it is. It's tons. Yeah. It's hold on. Constellation class frigate. I think it's like over 1,000 tons. Wait. The Constellation class frigate is 7,291 tons. And it is a guided missile frigate. It's a modern frigate.
14.5 million pounds.
It's the United States U.S. Navy's next gen guided missile frigate. So it is not like if you're picturing a wooden ship. Stop.
Yeah, I did not know what that was. It could have, like I said, it could have been a frigate from the Spanish Armada, or it could be something that was just built yesterday.
I don't know if it's out. If it exists, because I'm only seeing renders of it.
It sounds cool.
I might be a conceptual ship. Or maybe, here we go.
Like a giant sea turtle, like hydrofoil.
Almost here, yeah.
I can't wait.
September 2022. For it? For the first Constellation class frigate?
I don't know.
Let's get into some fast facts. Do you got any?
I do. Before we get into the major facts. So this lives all over the world, in all of the world's oceans. But the sightings have mainly been in the tropics. It does migrate, though, based on its food. It spends most of its time about 3,000 plus feet below sea level. Kind of hangs out right where the sun don't shine. And it eats plankton, it eats krill, small crustaceans, and squid. It feeds by sucking in its prey and then filtering out the water through its gills. They even found one oarfish with 10,000 krill in its stomach. Which, man, who counted those? Some dedicated researcher that never got the smell of dead oarfish and krill out of his nose for the rest of his life. They are rarely seen because of the aforementioned living 3,000 feet below the surface of the water. We got some footage in 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico of one swimming, and famously, it had its face up to the sun and its tail straight downward. So it was kind of swimming in this like column fashion.
Which is creepy.
It is creepy, like it was communing with some sort of outer deity. It's waiting for signals from the greater will. And we also don't know anything about their mating habits. This is similar to like a giant or colossal squid situation where we know they exist because we've seen several dead ones. But it's just really, really hard to observe these guys in the wild because the ocean down there is really, really big and very, very dark. So James Cameron can putz around in his little, remote submarine for years and never come across one of these guys. Mm-hmm. Even though they can be like almost 60 feet long. That's another like deep sea gigantism thing where it's like, man, that's one of those, even though they don't really pose a threat to us, like it's not like they're going to eat a person. It's very unnerving to know that there's a 60-foot long snake down there. That might just be staring at you 1,000 feet away in the inky blackness.
Think about going down in one of those submarines and like stuff that's just lurking just outside of like visual or radar range. And
it sees you from hundreds of feet away. Because you're shining this bright light, but you have no idea that it's there. There are a whole like horror video games around getting into a submersible and dealing with thalassophobia. So one thing we do know about their life cycle is that their eggs hatch in about 18 days. They float near the surface until they hatch, and then they sink downward. And the only reason why we know that they hatch in 18 days is because researchers did some artificial insemination projects with one that they got, and all of the larvae died in like a couple of days. So after hatching, so it's like we still basically know nothing. Huh. So yeah, maybe we'll. This is an ongoing investigation. Maybe we'll learn more about these guys as the years go on. But I'll leave it at that, and you can enlighten us on some major facts.
Okie dokie. Well, the oarfish, I'm calling this major fact a ribbon on the wind. The oarfish's elongated body is an adaptation to its deep sea environment. Now, I saw a lot of things where it's like, here's why it's so long. And I didn't fully understand the explanation. So, the unique shape apparently allows it to navigate the mesopelagic zone, which is 1,000 meters down.
The down there zone.
Below the ocean surface. So, the long ribbon-like body helps the fish like to float without a swim bladder. This fish does not have a swim bladder. So the longness helps it to float vertically and blend into its surroundings. So like that's what it said. Like it's long because it helps it float. What? How does that track? And the best guess is that if you take a piece of confetti and you throw it, it's gonna like float almost straight down. But if you take like a long ribbon, more surface area catches the wind, and it can like float around. So maybe it's something to do with that. This long fish, it's like this long ribbon that's floating on the currents. That's my guess. So there's also something not unrelated to the major fact, but they found I forget the term, but it's like hyperossification, which is like
super bone
growth around the tail, the end of the tail, because they have to move their tails so often. The theory is because they don't have a swim bladder, they have to constantly move their tails and propel themselves through the water to stay afloat or to maintain buoyancy, that there's like microfractures happening in their bones back there. So it constantly is growing new bone, and it to replace to heal the fractures, which is horrifying.
Well, it's like those guys, those martial artists that say you got to punch oak trees to harden your fists, because you got to create those microfractures and get super knuckles or something like that. I don't know. I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet.
The oarfish's length and shape might have something to do with their feeding habits. As they filter feed, they consume all the things you said in their bodies, and large mouths help them efficiently capture prey. I still don't understand why longness helps you filter feed, but okay.
A lot of filter feeders are long.
That's true. That's true. But this is where the fact becomes mythology, legend, myth into truth. Road to El Dorado. The length, rarity, and strangeness of this fish has caused them to be weaved into myths and legends. The oarfish's long serpentine appearance has kind of contributed to its association with sea serpent myths. Sailors who encounter them often kind of took them for dragons or mythical sea serpents. When they see what is actually a fish, they're like, oh, that's a sea. If you look at this fish, a picture of it, and look at old-timey maps of sea monsters, there's usually something that looks like this loosely. A long fish with whiskers on its face kind of thing. But in Japanese culture, oarfish are known as Ryugu no Tsukai.
Nailed it.
Or messengers from the sea god's palace. And they are believed to surface kind of as harbinger. If you see it, it's like a black cat crossing your paths. It's like a harbinger of doom, especially related to earthquakes and tsunamis. So the belief has is that if you're a sailor and you see one of these oarfish, a great storm or a tsunami or an earthquake is on its way. And this
that's interesting because Japanese mythology also holds that the world is on the back of a giant catfish, and that's what causes the earthquakes. So you see an oarfish, the oarfish goes down and tells its catfish father that it's time for earthquakes, and then that's what you get for looking at him.
Well, this myth has kind of made its way to modern times. It's been fueled by instances where oarfish are spotted before actual seismic events in modern history, including the 2011 Tohoku
Nailed it again.
And tsunami in Japan. Unfortunately, scientific evidence has not yet been able to support the connection between oarfish and seismic activity. But some researchers hypothesize that deep-sea fish like oarfish might be sensitive to seismic activity, with the fact that they, deep-sea vents in the deepest parts of the ocean are near fault lines, because trenches and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the theory is that since they're down there, they're kind of the first to know when plates are smacking together. So it disturbs them, and they surface when they normally wouldn't. But most experts believe that this link is coincidental. These fish just get seen, and what would be otherwise like, oh, that was an interesting fish. I'll tell my friends. It's followed by an earthquake, and then it sticks in, their head, and they make the link, and then it's a news story, or then it's like it's worthy of being spread far and wide. So studies have found no consistent correlation between oarfish sightings and earthquakes, but it certainly is interesting, and it stands to reason that seismic activity would churn up the oceans, and you'd see something that you normally wouldn't see. That makes sense to me, but maybe one day we'll confirm it with science.
It is rare that there is a fish that can surface that lives that far down.
True.
A lot of the times, a fish's body structure doesn't allow it to get past a certain pressure, a hydrostatic pressure point. So maybe we would see more like anglers and blobfish and Dumbo octopus, squid, and stuff like that live way down there, if they could make it to the surface without dying. And maybe that's what true. It's nice to be so long.
I'm trying to think, like, there's not that many bones down there, right?
I was just thinking the same thing. There's not a lot of bones down there. Lots of worms and crabs and sharks, but they have cartilage. Hagfish lived. I don't know if hagfish are bony fish.
Maybe that contributes to their ability to like regrow bone, since they're like, maybe if they go down too fast, there's like microfractures and stress.
Yeah, maybe it's surfacing and diving. But I mean, there's pilot whales and sperm whales. They go pretty far down.
True.
I don't know if they go 3,000 feet, though. I don't remember how far down they go. 3,000 feet is pretty deep. But yeah, interesting stuff. It is odd that these guys are very rarely seen, and there's like earthquakes are also relatively rare, so there being a correlation is odd. Like a human sighting of an oarfish, let's say it happens like once every 5 years. It coinciding with an earthquake is odd. Like more than a couple of times.
True. If you experienced an oarfish and an earthquake on the same day, you would think that they were connected.
Well, I'm saying
you might be tempted to think that.
It's not like I'm seeing, like, every time I saw an earthquake, I saw a squirrel in the same day, or a pigeon, or an ant, or something like that. And it's like, oh, they're associated. No, it's just because they're everywhere. I see them all the time. The chances of an earthquake, when it eventually did happen, was very likely to happen on the same day I saw a squirrel, because I see squirrels every day.
It's not weird for you to buy a blue Camry and then start seeing blue Camrys all the time. It might be weird for you to buy a limited edition like Dodge Viper and then start seeing that limited edition Dodge Viper everywhere. You'll be like, what, is there a convention in town? Why wasn't I invited?
That's the Bader-Meinhof effect, where you start, like, as soon as you start like noticing something or like recognizing something's existence, suddenly you start seeing it everywhere.
Right. You start seeing it everywhere, but that's because it's not actually rare. It's very common. You just didn't notice it. But if it actually was rare, it'd be weird to see it everywhere.
But if like every time I bought a limited edition blue Camry, a Starlink satellite blew up, like that would be weird. It's like, I've only bought 2 of these things, and only 3 Starlink satellites have blown up, so I feel like I have some sort of cosmic power going on here.
That's true.
Two very unlikely events happening simultaneously, or in close to each other in multiple occasions. I'm inclined to believe the first one. That they're just like, oh, I hear plates, and they be spinning. I'm gonna go far away from them, I guess, as far away as I can, which is the surface of the ocean.
But the surface of the ocean is not where you want to be in a tsunami.
The fish don't know that. Look at this thing's face. He doesn't know that.
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. He knows that he looks fly with that that pompadour. And the other thing he knows is Yum Yum Donuts, and that's it.
He doesn't even know what donuts are.
But he knows they're Yum Yum.
What a horrible life.
he knows that, but he knows that Yum Yum Donuts. Anyway. Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
All right, that's the giant oarfish for you out there in Podcastia. Make your home in the depths. Become legend. And chill with your face to the sun like the oarfish here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Yeah, I'm looking at Here Be Dragons, Here Be Monsters, like old-timey maps. And I swear that one of these is an oarfish.